Hello.
And hello.
Hi.
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 People.
Hello.
And hello.
You didn't say the rest.
Always. Governor.
There we go.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for tuning in with your ear holes.
Your ear holes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited to have you here. And where is here, you may ask? Here is a Couple of Sassholes podcast. I'm Brooklyn Maple.
And I am Heather Terry.
And this is our power hour of sadness, joy, humor, and depression.
Yeah, that's a
This is
roller
like
coaster.
high school all over again.
Very big roller coaster of emotions.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag always.
Speaking of roller coaster of emotions, NSYNC.
Yes.
You guys, stop the presses.
So let's talk about it. So NSYNC, yes. Were you an NSYNC?
NSYNC
or Backstreet Boys?
Oh, 100% NSYNC. Now, I liked BSB, still do.
See,
But NSYNC, I was a diehard, went to their concert in middle school.
yeah, I
But-
think NSYNC came out. If I'm not mistaken, NSYNC is the Britney Spears to pop culture and boy bands. So Britney Spears came out first, and then we were like, you are our goddess.
Mm-hmm.
And so then everyone who came, Christina Aguilera,
Oh, yeah.
Shanti, and all them other motherfucks,
Yeah.
Pink, they were all secondary to Britney because she was first. NSYNC to me was first. But then again, there were all those other boy bands that were before it.
98
But
Degrees, who I also loved.
yeah, they definitely felt like a cousin.
They're
to the
coming
whole
back,
experience. I'm sure they are because everyone's got to ratchet back around.
They do. We're at that age, as
Yes.
you pointed out today.
I did. No, NSYNC, I don't know. Yeah, I think they look amazing. You're totally right. Whenever I was saying, I struggle seeing older men act young. We were at that Kane Brown concert, and them one dudes were there.
Yeah.
Them guys.
Low cash.
Low cash. And I was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
I was like, y'all are gross. Y'all are looking like you're in your 50s with your bedazzled fucking jeans, trying to act like people want to slob on your low hanging knobs.
Ew.
And I just wasn't for it.
Low hanging knobs.
I just was not for it.
Yeah, you looked utterly disgusted.
Yes, and I was.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that, NSYNC, I never went to concerts before, and I still choose not to. But if I were going to partake in being crammed in with a whole bunch of people screaming for no reason whatsoever, it would be for the NSYNC sings.
And there would be a reason. Who was your favorite?
I
I already know this answer, but
don't know. I struggle because I bounced all around town. At some, obviously it was
That's what I
Justin in the obviously it was Justin in the jump.
yeah.
And then, but I think I liked JC first, and then Justin, and then Lance.
Yeah.
I always loved me a gay.
Yeah. Mine was JC,
Yeah,
for sure. Now,
he got that long hair.
and not in a hot
glasses.
Jason Momoa
No.
type of way. It just looks like he wants to be a hipster, but not. And
No,
not a fan.
I think probably the one that aged the best is Daddy Lance. Lance be looking real nice.
Oh,
He also
yeah.
doesn't care. He's like, you know what? There ain't no way that forehead ain't toxed. It is bow to the toxed.
Well, his husband.
But Justin, he has those wrinkles. So maybe
He's
he wasn't
cute.
trying to. I don't know.
Joey's cute. He was my second favorite.
Yeah, I liked Joey after the band broke up. I like Joey as an adult.
Yeah.
Because now he's like, oh, you're funny as fuck. You're cute. You got a little bit of that weight that makes you not intimidating and a little funnier.
Yeah.
You got to add that extra little round of chubs on there to add a little extra humor in it. I don't know. I like
that's
it a lot.
my life philosophy. So, just saying. Yeah. So, putting it out in the universe, they need to go on tour. Brooklyn may not go. I
probably will
will be there. I will sell my kidney to go. I'm going.
Oh yeah, there ain't no way I'm going. I cannot see myself financially being like, oh, after a wedding and a 2-week honeymoon, yeah, go do a concert.
Oh, I'm doing
Whenever I realized literally with El King in an environment that was still really small that I just don't like being around people.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, you can drop me off. Okay.
The hard pass. What else is going on?
The other concert that I went to was Sugar Ray and Jim Blossom's, a throwback, 90s genre, if you will. And I was walking to the bathroom, and this girl stopped me And she had a couple drinks, but she's super sweet, and I had drinks too, so whatever. And she said, "Hey, this is gonna sound weird, but are you a sasshole?"
How did she like realize?
I think she saw me talking to MCAT, and she knows MCAT. And so when I went pee, she saw me, but our pictures, and she was like,
I know, but I'm like,
because my pictures are catfished a little bit.
Well, we were heavier in a lot of our photos. I change my hair color every 6 weeks, so it's like I was blonde. I was super blonde in our photos, and that was like for literally just those photos.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
But
I guess I just assume no one knows who I don't know.
She said, and I laughed. I go, yeah. Because that's in the wild. Usually it's just somebody I know.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh my God, you guys are so funny." And I said, "Thanks." And she says, "Brooklyn here?" And I go, "Oh no, she hates concerts." And she goes,
"You ain't lying."
And she goes, "Oh my God, she's my favorite." And I go, "I'm sure you're her favorite too." And then she just laughed. And then I was like, "Well, I used to have self-esteem." No, I'm kidding. And she goes, "Oh, you're funny too." And I'm like, "It's fine."
Oh my God, I love being a favorite.
I
love whoever you are,
I
little
can't remember
lady.
her name. I'm sorry.
Who
she
stopped Heather and then proceeded to tell her how much she loved me. Like, I don't know if I could love someone more that I've never met than this unidentified Jane Doe of that concert.
Well, she ended up in the pit with MCAT, and we all have pictures together after that. So
then McCat may know who she is.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
But anyway, I thought that was worth sharing because it was so fun.
I love that.
I knew you would.
I definitely do.
I knew that.
I love being a fan fave. Nothing better than telling the other person when there's only two.
I know, right?
You were bumped under her.
You know what? I'll take it. So if anybody out there, I'm your favorite, come find me and tell me.
Yeah. Or not. No, I'm kidding. Or tell me so that then I can tell. Who really cares? Who cares?
We don't.
At the end of the day, we're both spectacular. Speaking of a non-spectacular moment, look at this shit, everybody. So Heather's like, "Let's do this murder." And I was like, cool. I don't know anything of it. Didn't really pay any attention to it when she was talking to me about it because life's hard and I'm very mentally exhausted with life. I'm not even gonna lie. I am just, I guess at this stage you could just say like I'm kind of just surviving overall with like wedding planning and life and work and everything.
A lot going on.
I'm surviving.
Yeah.
I'm surviving.
You're doing a good job.
I'm still thriving, but I am surviving. And as she's talking to me about it, as I mentioned, I barely pay attention. And I get into work early. I spend 40 minutes pulling up all my shit. I'm feeling really good, really funny. I'm like, I've got this under control. So then I'm like, "Hey, Heather, come in here real quick because you told me to do this part and this part." And she goes, "No, I told you to do this part and this part." Literally wasted 40 minutes when I did not have the 40 minutes. And literally I basically researched what Heather had already done. Motherfucker. I was like, if there's ever a time I want to flip a desk. And I reread the email because I read it and I was like, cool. Then we talked about it and you were like this and this. And then this and this lined up in a way of a different article that literally perfect storm of miscommunication.
Oh,
we couldn't have
100%.
worked harder to make that miscommunication happen.
Yeah.
But with that being said.
Well, normally though, I do the pre part and then
Yes, we follow
you do
a
the
very
murder part.
common menu.
Yes, and you do, but the murder part was so murder-y. And part of it stood out a little bit more. And now that I dove into the part that you were going to do, now I realize why. And the beginning part's not that meaty. So,
and see, I didn't read any of it until 7:45 this morning. Because once more, #surviving.
Yeah.
I'm doing the best I can with what I got, guys. So long story short, H to the T, sasshole numero uno.
Well, apparently dose.
Is going to be fucking driving this scallywagon through the town.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be here being mesmerized on all parts of it, but the 6 pages I wrote on things that I already know.
There's some of, yeah.
Did you do any Google mapping?
Mapping as far as
locations?
Like where these are?
Yes.
Not like.
Perfect. Because guess what I did? I
did
Google
that?
mapped that shit.
Awesome.
So now I can add some facts
you are going to add a shit ton.
about where things happened.
There's no way you can't add
That's
to
my
this.
flourish. I don't give a fuck. That's my flourish.
That's
today.
your flourish.
Now, I have a story that we may or may not get to. I'm not going to lie. It's traumatizing because, as you can imagine, after Heather and I had our moments of fuck, I was like, let's get the googies on. Googed real hard and fast. Wally whopped on some shit.
What are these words?
And I got me a story that I pulled right out of my
Wally Wop.
huge asshole.
Your fat asshole.
My fat asshole. So we'll just have to, we'll see if my story happens. I'm all for giving it a little bit more respect later.
Yeah.
I can also just sit on it as I sit here with my dick in my hand this whole episode, annoyed still that I didn't fucking do it right. Well,
hey, at least we're going to have this episode and it's not in the cloud. Like the other one. That was a really good one that disappeared in the cloud.
That's true.
The missing episode. We'll release it in like 3 years whenever we
I
figure
hope
out
not, because I redid mine.
Yeah, you do. Oh, yeah.
And I knew yours, and you were like, I'm so annoyed that you know my story. And I was like, I do know your story, and I don't like your story. And you're like, fuck you. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. And you're like, well, change your face. That was pretty. I think afterwards we got in a fight over it, and Heather's like, dude, your face. I'm like, dude, stupid story.
Yeah, that's basically how
This
that
is
went.
what happens when you're best friends. You work together. You have offices across the hall from each other. And then you also have a podcast. We fist fight over episodes of people dying. So sad. That's sad. It could be worse.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna hush it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna lean back.
This is the story of Daniel Owen Conahan Jr., also known as the Hog Trail Killer. Dun, dun, dun.
Bum, bum, bum.
That's right. Sources are Wikipedia, Murderpedia, CrimeLibrary.org, True Crime Garage Podcast, KIRO7 News Outlet, YouTube, and then Season 1, Episode 10 of Buried in the Backyard.
And Google Maps.
Okay.
Let's make sure I have my Google Maps in there.
All right. This is nutso, so here we do go. Daniel Owen Conahan Jr. was born on May 11th, 1954 in Charlotte, North Carolina. His family was middle class, and shortly after he was born, they moved to Punta Gorda, Florida. Now, I couldn't find a lot of details on his childhood, but other than his teens, he was like, oh, I'm gay. And when he told his parents, they flipped their shit and they were irate.
So he was gay in the early 70s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
When you're not allowed to be. Mm-hmm. Number one, as a man, you're never allowed to be gay, ever. I swear from like society's like viewpoints, but you really weren't allowed to.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Which
so his
sucks.
parents were like disgusted. And this is the only time that you're like, oh,
I know.
the one time you're like that for him. They decided they could change him and make him quote unquote normal and fix him. So they sent him to several psychiatrists and doctors, and obviously it didn't work as they wanted it to. He was quoted later saying that being gay wasn't very open in the 70s, obviously, but he did find a gay bar, and he would get there early in the day so they wouldn't card him because he wasn't legal drinking age.
Wasn't it so hard to be gay in the 70s in general? And then HIV, and then also the fact that that's when serial killers were literally just going after gay guys.
Yeah, it was kind of a rough time. There's a lot of
Very hard
documentaries
time.
about it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, quote, being gay is part of God's plan, too. So his classmates in school said he dabbled kind of in school activities from time to time, but mainly he just kept to himself and was a loner. I mean, obviously he had a lot going on at home. So he joined the U.S. Navy in 1977. He was stationed at a naval station, Great Lakes base in Illinois. And it didn't take long for him to violate Don't Ask, Don't Tell, because he got in trouble for taking a few fellow naval officers off base to hotels for sexy time. So a few months later, he was discharged from the Navy because he got in a huge fight with a guy because he attempted to suck his dick against his will. What? As she giggles.
I don't mean to.
I mean,
I just... Shoot. Stop that. What is...
I don't
How do you just...
He attempted multiple times. The guy was like, dude, no. and they got in a fight. So
I can see why.
yeah,
I would definitely fist fight.
I think I would
for trying to
fist
do
fight
this. The tables were turned. I'm definitely knee and a nose for sure.
I am not orange is the new black in anybody.
No, I'm
way.
not like I just need that so badly. I'll take it wherever I can get it. What the fuck?
No. He stayed in Chicago after he got out of the Navy, though, for 13 years, and even had a live-in boyfriend that he'd met. And the boyfriend said later, one time Daniel told him that he had a fantasy of picking up a stranger, tying them to a tree naked, and, quote, fucking him. But the boyfriend didn't think anything of it. He just thought he was just trying to sell.
I wouldn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
People got them weird kinks.
But, like, taking a stranger, like, taking, not like...
I know, but he could have said, take it. Like, there's...
Yeah.
Don't kink shame. I can already feel how they're kink shaming.
I'm not kink shaming.
Everyone get on her Facebook and scream at her for kink.
She's trying to keep that number one spot.
I know, right?
In 1993, he moved back to Punta Gorda, Florida to stay with his parents because they were getting older. So he went back there. I mean, I would have said, fuck you, I'm not coming, but he did anyway. In 95, he graduated top of his class from Charlotte Vocational Technical Center and became a licensed practical nurse. Now, this is where the timeline's going to be like a little bit. So here we go. 1994, hang on. Okay, let's go back to 1994. Daniel met a man named Stanley Burden. And he's like, hey, Stanley, do you want to earn some quick cash? What about $150 and I'll take some nude bondage Polaroids in the woods? If you're huffing at that one, you just wait. Stanley's like, okay, fuck it. Sure. I need money. So he hops in his car.
Pause. This was $150 in the 90s? In
94.
Thank you. I'll find out how much that's worth today, and I'll tell you whether or not you can get me for the low price. $150 in 1994.
Yep.
$309.40 today. Wow. Absolutely not. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, Stanley, on the other hand, said yes, and then Daniel takes him out to the woods. They get out and they start walking and they end up at a tree. And Daniel points to it and he's like, all right, now take off your clothes and I'm going to tie you to this tree. And Stan's like, it's kind of weird, but okay. And why not? He wants money. And Daniel does this and then he starts taking his little Polaroids. Not too long into this kink shoot, this is not funny. It's just, this whole thing is weird. Daniel tries to rape him orally and then again anally while he's tied to this tree. So the photo shoot escalates a little bit.
A little bit, yeah, she says.
Just a little bit. Stanley flips his shit and he was like, we didn't talk about that part. We were just supposed to take pictures. So he throws his back to the tree and he's like literally trying to guard himself. And Daniel gets pissed off because he doesn't like the rejection. So he tightens the rope around his neck like super, super tight. Daniel had that fucking rope around his neck for 30 minutes trying to choke him and he couldn't do it. He was trying to kill him and he couldn't do it.
Like he wasn't strong enough to do it?
They don't know if it was the angle or the spot or he was fighting that hard off of him, but like 30 fucking minutes of some guy trying to strangle you with a rope around your neck.
And the whole time trying to get in your butthole.
Right?
There's like, there's
a lot going on.
Sphincter fear in there, right?
Right.
You're Kegel in your butthole.
Yeah. Yeah. And finally Daniel's like, all right, fuck it. And just lets him loose. And then he said, wait. Well, how about I just give you $100? I don't want you to tell anybody. No, don't tell anybody this happened. He just lets him go because he gives up. He gets tired. And he just drives off and leaves Stanley in the woods.
Is that the dude that whenever I was getting my googs on, it was the really bad neck and he was alive?
Yes.
Wow.
So
it was really bad.
I'll come back
really bad.
I'll come back to Stanley in a minute, but yeah, it was real. I mean, a rope around your neck for 30 minutes.
Well, it was ripped right into the meat. Mm-hmm. Like his skin was split with the meats.
Hell yeah. Of course. Ugh. Okay. February 1st, 1994, two hunters were out there doing their hunty thing in Punta Gorda in the woods. And they looked down and they saw the badly decomposed body of a man that was like badly mutilated. And it looked like he'd been there for about a month. And he had several rope burns on him and his genitalia had been removed.
I don't think we can get enough of Weens being removed.
This is like Ween City.
Ween City.
Weenless City.
Oh, ooh.
Actually.
Yeah, it's very Yes, we were very weenless.
Yes.
Also, think about that. That body was also there in like humidity and heat.
Yep.
So Punta Gorda is located, if you go down south and you're seeing like where Miami is, it's literally on the other side of the state. So it's on the west side. Opposite.
Story. West Side Story.
Indeed.
And
so the heat's there is basically what I was saying.
Yeah.
Still hot and humid. Motherfuckers.
Right. And it wasn't until freaking September 2 years ago in 2021 that DNA matches uncovered that this was the body of Gerald Jerry Lombard from Lowell, Massachusetts. And he was Massachusetts. And he was only 27 at the time. He left his home in Florida in 91, and he was kind of a drifter, and no one ever saw him again.
What I read was that no one really thought anything of it, but that he disappeared in the middle of the night. Like that he just disappeared in the middle of the night from his home, and that they were like, oh, well, he was a drifter. I'm like, was that a thing?
Yeah,
that back in the day that people would just, here's my question. When families are like, oh, well, they were just a drifter. They like to, but you never thought that they would have a Rolodex or a little notebook of phone numbers to then call.
Right.
Like, was it a thing that I would just be like, you know what, guys, I'm out of here. And then I leave and then never contact you again?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's so bizarre to me.
It really is to think about for sure. And in March of 95, Daniel met a man named David Payton, and he was a drifter and a loner, which you'll see a pattern. David was walking alone, hitchhiking on a deserted road, and Daniel drove up to him and was like, hey, do you want to ride? And he's like, oh, yeah, I didn't think any cars were even going to come on this road. They start drinking and they do drugs, and Daniel took the car somewhere secluded. Daniel looked at David and he was like, hey, do you want to make some cash? If you let me take some photos of you while you're naked and tied to a tree, I'll pay you. He said, it's kind of my thing. And
jeez,
yeah. And David Payton was like, I mean, I guess, sure.
I've got to understand them. Like, I need to know what their mental state. Okay,
they need money, I guess.
Look, I know I'm a female, and I lived in Miami, and everyone's a photographer. And I feel like there's a million times when people are like, ooh, that scenario of getting naked for photos, I will understand that that's an ask for photographers. I will take it as an ask. But to tie you up to a tree,
yeah,
that you don't know the person and you now cannot
move,
use your hands.
Yeah.
No, I'd be like, no.
Yeah, no.
Someone, no. I say no.
No?
No.
Okay. So because they had pulled over for him to ask him this, and he was like, yeah, so they drive to go somewhere else to do this, to find, I guess, a tree. The car gets stuck in the mud.
Find the appropriate tree.
Right? The car got stuck in the mud. And so David just hops out real quick, and he's like, here, I'll flag down a car to get some help. And then, of course, Daniel gets all weird because he's going to bring somebody else there. And when another car drove by and the guy stopped and got out, so Daniel jumps out and gets behind the car and says, David, you get in the front driver's seat and drive, and me and this dude will push, because he was bigger than him. So David is like, this is fucking weird. All this is weird. And he had a weird feeling in his gut. So when he gets up there in the driver's seat, he looks down and he sees a big ass knife up there.
Oh, hell's no.
So they start to push the car out. So then he floors it and he leaves them. He steals his car and leaves.
That's what I'm talking about.
I know. But David got caught the next day and went to jail for car theft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and because they didn't believe him. And so friggin' Daniel Conahan got his car back the next day.
Good, as he should. His car was still...
Fuck that guy. Then on New Year's Day in 96, a family who lived in the country, and they got a present on their porch, but they didn't ask for it. It was a human skull. So they had a country dog, and the dog lived outside, and they're used to it, like bringing animal bones and stuff that it finds out in the wild, like to their porch.
Yeah.
Like
a fucking cat.
Yeah. Like, here's the treat. And when they called the police station to tell them, like, dude, there's a skull on my porch, they were super calm because it was the country and they were used to seeing the bones like that. And the cops are kind of like, it's kind of weird, but okay.
So here's another statement.
Yes.
That I would like to call
yes.
to the jury.
Okay.
You're telling me that, okay, so obviously they called the cops whenever they got the skeleton. But they had said that they had been getting bones before that.
Yeah, they just assumed they were like deer, but this was a human skull.
That's
and
what
they
I'm
were
saying,
like,
though.
What
like,
the fuck?
Human bones do not look like deer bones.
Right?
Like, for you to make an assumption that it's deer is, like, kind of ignorant, to be really honest.
Yeah, and the sweet little lady was on the documentary, and you wanted to be like, she was so calm when she was saying it, too. She was just like, I mean, the dog brought bones up all the time. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Ew. Yeah, could you imagine if you were just like letting the dog, just like, can you look up at me at all? I'm like, I am literally just talking to you, looking not with any eye contact with me. No, like, I just couldn't imagine the fact that, like, then your dog, like, I just have, like, Betty in the backyard, and I'm like, oh, my God, my dog just literally ate a human femur.
Right.
Because you could tell.
Yeah.
I've seen nasty-ass deer legs. Like, they don't, oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah. And a day later, a half mile from the house, the search team found bones from a human chest.
Shocking.
Hip. And then even more remains with a hand and partial chest with skin left intact on it.
That has to be so morbid looking.
Right? Yeah. Oh. I was scared to, like, look up any I didn't click images when I Googled any of this stuff. And during the exam, they couldn't tell the exact cause of death, but guess what they could tell?
What?
The genitalia had been removed.
Of course.
To this day, this person they originally called the Northport skeleton is referred to as Sarasota County John Doe. So they never figured out who it was. Then March 6th in 1996, a man was driving down Route 75 in Northport and pulled over because he had to pee on Laramie Circle. And he got out and he ended up discovering the body of a deceased naked man who was laid out face up in the shape of a cross.
So let's just highlight this real quick. So this guy just happens to need to tinks. He's like, I'm going to pull over on this highway and I'm going to whip my ween out and I'm going to whiz.
I'm going to whiz.
He's going to drain the snake.
Oh, God.
So he decides to walk to the tree line. So go him for being the only guy that chooses not to piss right with the door open.
Right.
But not only does he just happen to stop in that whenever he walks into the tree line, he finds a dead body in that exact spot.
Yeah.
Like, that is...
And then he's like...
The freaking...
nightmare.
Just not even... Just like the kismet of it. Like, the fact that he stopped right there of all the places he could have stopped. He could have not walked to the tree line. Mm-hmm. Because I was like, oh, he just found a dead body whenever he pulled over to pee. And then I realized he had actually walked into the woods to not, show everyone his hootie hoo. His woody woody hoo. Unbelievable luck. Unbelievable luck.
It is wild. The medical examiner said that the man had been killed approximately 10 days prior with severe scrapes and burns on his feet and slash marks on his upper body as if he tried to run from his attacker. He had 4 stab wounds to the genital region and then additional mutilation to that area. He also had rope burns on his body, and a tree nearby had rope marks on it as well. This man wasn't even identified until June 30th of 1999, and he was 35-year-old William John Bill Milleragno. I'm probably saying that wrong. Sorry, Bill. Bill had met Daniel, who did the whole naked to a tree song and dance, and then, of course, when Daniel tried to sexually assault him, he broke free, and then he ran, but he was caught. And then police are like, it's kind of a pattern. And there's wild hog trails near there, so where these people are being found. So this person was dubbed as the Hog Trail Killer. April of 1996, 21-year-old Richard Montgomery is like, hey, Mom, this guy's going to give me like $200 to model naked for photos. And she's like, who is that? And he's like, no, I'm not going to tell you. But he keeps talking to her and then changes the subject. But then he tells her that he has a new friend named Daniel Conahan, who's a nurse from Punta Gorda. So she kind of connected the dots there.
I took a drink of water for anyone else who didn't connect the dots of the sounds that were being made. Real quick, this whole thing that was happening. It was Punta Gorda, and then there was another location, Northport. So Northport to Punta Gorda is 15 minutes. The whole overall area is just like a 30-minute drive. So basically, that is equal to us just finding spontaneous bodies all over Owensboro.
Yeah.
Because you can drive the whole distance straight through Owensboro in 30 minutes or less.
I never thought about that.
So imagine all of these bodies, just all of these mutilated weens all over Owensboro.
That's insane.
Yeah. Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a tiny fucking area.
Yeah, it's not very much.
Northport, and it's like it's fucking Owensboro and whatever is the next place next to it. I can't say Evansville or Rio or anything, but like Owensboro, and then what's the Kentucky City thing right next to us?
What?
Philpott.
Okay.
It's like Owensboro and Philpott.
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
For everyone who doesn't live in Kentucky and give two fucks about my reference there, but whatever.
That's fine. It's a little area, let's just say that. Now, Richard is known to have a good time. He dabbled in drug use a little bit, and he would, quote, do anything if beer and money was involved.
Feel that. Fucking spirit animal, man.
Right? On April 17th, Richard was visiting his friend Robert Whitaker in a trailer park in Punta Gorda, where he knew a lot of people around there. And the day before, he busted in Robert's house, and he was like, y'all, I'm going to make $300 in 30 minutes. And Robert's like, what you're doing
sex
legal? And he just smirked and walked out the door. And that was the last time anybody saw him. Yeah. Robert had met up with that freak, Daniel. And of course, you can guess what happened next. The same day, 2 engineers were working in the woods and found a human skull in the Hog Trail region. And when cops went to search that area, they found Richard's nude body laying face up with rope burns, and his penis had been amputated post-mortem.
So they found a different body? So they found a skull, and then very close in found another person's body. Got it.
They ended up finding that and a torso near a tree with rope marks, and the body was really decomposed, but there was a prominent tattoo. So they decided to put the tattoo on the news, and the sister of Kenny Smith called in and identified him. With Richard, this was the first time they were able to get there, though, like as soon as it happened. So they got way more evidence this time. They got rope, a carpet pad, a gray coat, and some like combings as well, like hair and stuff. And okay, so remember Stanley Burden, like who escaped like 2 years before all this stuff, the first guy, he ended up getting arrested for child molestation. And like you said, he still had the rope marks on his neck. But while he was in prison, he sees all this shit on the news. And he's like, oh, fuck, I bet it's that guy. And so he goes to tell him, and he gives him his name.
I'm sure everyone wants to listen to the pedophile.
Right. They come up with this big sting operation, and they go undercover as transients and like insert themselves into the transient lifestyle the cops do. So David Payton, the guy that stole the car, he comes forward and he tells them exactly what Daniel Conahan looks like. And he's, like you just said, a more credible witness than a chomo. So, than Stan.
Yes.
And they find Daniel Conahan and sneak in a tracking device into his car because since he'd stolen it, they had all the info on it. He still had the same car. They had 24-hour video surveillance. Like, they had helicopters. And they were, like, watching him hard. And they had...
What year was this? In the 90s? Mid-90s?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. We have O.J. Simpson and shit going on, so I get that.
I was very impressed by the level of how serious they took it, which is good. They had 6 undercover.
Why? Because the thought would have been a gay man killing gay men or something where they would ignore it like they always did.
Yeah. Well,
I get so mad. Yeah. But it wasn't, there was no proof that those guys were gay.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is it's like...
wasn't.
There was no evidence because the guys weren't necessarily gay. But man, that kills me.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah,
that's a lot. But it's just at least they were taking a serial killer seriously for once,
absolutely.
And they had like 6 cars nearby that where he was.
Well, and he was also. He obviously had a tell what he was doing, but he was also doing it within a short proximity. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how, it's amazing he made it as long as he did.
Yeah.
But him getting caught isn't shocking either, right?
Right. Yeah. They did the surveillance for 50 days, and they even set up like fake transient camps in the woods, and undercover agents had wires. They were trying to bait him. And it worked.
Yeah, it sounds very baity.
Yeah, and it worked. And one cop did ask him, one cop got him to ask him if he would do the photo shoot thing, and he went out in the woods with him. And of course, they were waiting on him when he went out there because they already knew where it was going to go. And they had snipers waiting in the trees and guns aimed at Daniel Conahan's head while he was talking to the cop. And they were trying to negotiate the sex and the pricing and all that so they could get the evidence that they needed.
The sex?
He was telling them, like, trying to get him to say, I'll pay you to do this. And Daniel was telling the cop
So
that.
he was actually trying, this time he wasn't just trying to take photos, he was trying to have sex.
He was saying photos first, and the cop was kind of leading him to, they were kind of trying to get him to say stuff to get as much on him as they could. So for 50 days, they even had to save another guy, a potential victim one time. They had an unmarked car go by where he takes them, like, because he had a guy out there in the woods and they were scared he was going to kill him. So they drove by and freaked him out, and then he let the other guy go too. So, like,
I don't understand that. If they had all those people, why couldn't they have just killed him? You know what I mean?
What?
Like, you're saying that the cops had a guy there.
Oh, but they were just surveilling him, and when they were tailing him, he had taken a guy out to the woods.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There's all the evidence right there. They could have stopped it right there.
Yeah. I didn't really get that part either, but
yeah,
there's a lot
I'm sure they had a reason.
Yeah.
Our law degrees only give us so much information.
Well, there's a lot of different sources on this one too. So, like, who fucking knows?
Oh, you only named 18.
Right. And in May of 96, they pulled Daniel Conahan over for some vehicle violation bullshit, and they just wanted to make sure they knew where he was. They took him they had, like, rigged up cameras in this hotel room, which if I got pulled over and they were like, well, we're going to take you here to interview you, I'd be like, no.
I'm calling a news station right now.
Exactly. But they took him there, and the video's online, and it's really creepy. So if you guys want to watch it, go for it. I'd watched a few minutes of it, and he freaked me out when he was talking, because they ended up telling him, like, oh, we think that you're a suspect. And he just goes, wow. Like, it's so weird.
And then he's like, yeah, I am.
No, like, I stopped watching it there, but, like, they basically, it's just weird that they ended up saying that he was a suspect and all this stuff. And he just goes, wow.
But then nothing, I'm trying to understand if he, like, fessed, like, if he BTK'd it and was just like, yeah, I did.
They kept pressing him, and I don't know if he ended up, he got charged anyway, but hang on. So while this was happening, they were executing a search warrant on his car and his apartment. And that's another reason why they wanted to keep him occupied in the room. They found evidence that linked him directly to Richard Montgomery's murder and the attack on Stan Burden. So on July 3rd, 1996, he's arrested for attempted murder of Stan, and while awaiting trial, they found another fucking skeleton. The remains of William Charles Patton was found in May of 97, and he hadn't been seen since 93. He's additionally charged for Richard Montgomery for kidnapping, sexual battery, and, of course, murder during that time, too. Daniel asked for a bench trial, which is the judge and no jury, because he thought he would get a harsher sentence because he's gay and into bondage, and he didn't want to get a conservative jury. So,
no,
I mean,
not done.
Right. He testified and denied knowing Richard and said he was just meeting Stan for sexy time, and none of the other stuff happened. He said he wanted it pretty much. And then he said a bunch of other weird shit that made it, they shouldn't have put him up there, but they did. The defense attorney is like, well, Daniel has a super bad back, so he wouldn't be able to overpower these young, healthy men. And
dude, they tied him to trees. They voluntarily tied themselves. I'm going to take this microphone.
When I say reaching for straws,
go to that jail and shove it up his butthole.
Right. I hope so.
That is what I'm about to fucking do.
They even tried to say that Stanley had a roommate and his roommate was gay. And they tried to say that Stanley's roommate did it. They said in court and named that guy.
They have to, right?
Everything.
That's the crazy shit.
Could you imagine just being the roommate of some dude and then you're like, wait, what? I didn't do that.
Yeah, don't say my name too much.
Yeah.
I don't want to be.
He just lived with me for like 3 months. No.
Right? Like I didn't even touch him when he was sleeping. Fuck.
The judge deliberated for only 25 minutes and found him guilty of first-degree premeditated murder and kidnapping of Richard Montgomery. And then Daniel's like, oh, crap. And then some legal loophole.
That's what he's like.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Ah, crap. Yes. It's a quote. No.
Wow.
He's, wow. In my head, he's just like, wow.
Wow.
Did you just meow?
No, there's a cat.
Yes. Daniel is like, oh, shit. Is that better? You like that one better? And he found some legal loophole, and it let him request a jury sentencing. And the jury's like, you're a fuckface, so we want the death penalty. And he's like,
as he should be.
I know, but it backfired so hard.
Especially like he shouldn't be in jail where he can get all that dick in his butt the way he likes it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You know? They should take the gay guys and put them in the women's prison.
Oh my God.
So there's no, and then all the women will like it because gays are our favorite.
On December 10th, 1999, the judge is like, good job, and we're going to kill the son of a bitch. I agree with you guys. And he still waits on death row at Union Correctional Institution to this day. And normally this would be where I would be done. But there's more shit that's gone on since he got put on death row and been discovered. So March 23rd of 2007, a property surveyor found 2 human skulls in a wooded area in Fort Myers, Florida. And then when they went and called that in and the search teams came out, they found 6 more skulls with skeletal remains to match.
6 more.
So this is 8, and that's the largest find of its kind in the state of Florida. And search teams, cadaver dogs, all that stuff was brought in because what the fuck? You don't just find 8 skeletons in one spot.
What do you mean?
Right? And the poor people.
So like a mass grave?
Yeah. They found them all in the same region. Like not a grave, but they were all close together. Yeah. And
a dumping ground.
Yeah. And these poor people became known as the Fort Myers 8. The search didn't uncover any clues around them, like no bags, no coffins, just the remains. There weren't fresh tracks coming in and out, obviously. And it's like really scary and fucking bizarre.
Do they have clothes on?
They didn't find hardly anything.
Well, if it was, when was that? Sorry.
2007.
So maybe 10 years later. So
could be 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, so nothing would have probably made it through.
Yeah. There was a split second where they looked a little closer at a closed down funeral home that was nearby, but they debunked that quickly because they were literally like trying to figure everything out.
Just a funeral home dumping bodies in the back. I mean, it makes sense.
8 of them
fucking
in
8.
One spot. They had to rule it out.
That's not
do their due diligence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. And then they were like, wait, what about fucking Daniel? Like after they did that, because Stan Burden was attacked by Daniel 1 mile away from where the Fort Myers 8 were found.
Oh my gosh. And so homeboy never once like bragged, like he didn't Gacy, like John Wayne Gacy was like, it wasn't me. And then whenever they were like, it was you, and he's like, you're right, no one's ever going to be as infamous as I am. Like he didn't do that.
Denies. Nope, everything was consensual and it's only the people they know about. And they never officially linked him, but it's like kind of known, like all the articles and stuff are directed right back at him. They didn't prosecute him for it because he's already on death row. Yeah. But they just chalk it up to him.
So the Fort Myers 8, could they tell that their weens were mutilated, or was it too far gone? Because the other ones were like within...
And you know why he did that?
Or days or whatever.
Did you read why he did that?
No.
Because he didn't want his saliva for DNA. That's why he did it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the ones he actually did it to, he did that to them.
How do we know that? Did he? Because he said it to someone?
They said that.
Who's they?
It was uncovered in his interrogation. Ah. Yeah, this one could be like 8 episodes because of his stuff. There's so much stuff that he will and won't say.
So, sorry, back in. Mm-hmm. So, were those 8 mutilated weens? Or can they not tell because it was so...
I don't think that they could tell because it was just skeletal remains at the time.
They could, and they on the other ones.
One. I know. Yeah. They didn't mention that.
I'm curious on that. And then, were they unidentified?
I could tell you in a second because I felt like I needed to say who.
Yeah.
Okay. And in November of 2007, the first victim was identified, and it was 38-year-old John Blevins. A few weeks later, in 2007, 21-year-old Eric David Kohler from Port Charlotte, Florida, was identified, and he had been missing since October of 95. So that gives you kind of a timeline of when.
Yeah.
September 2008, 24-year-old Jonathan James Tehei, I hope I'm saying that right. He had disappeared from Fort Myers in 95, and he was identified as well. And then in freaking September of 2022, so 1 year ago, they changed victim H of the Fort Myers 8 to 30-year-old Robert Ronald Bobby Soden. And there's still 4 of them that were never identified. But if you look them up, they did AI facial reconstruction somehow, which is amazing, and what they think they look like now.
I bet that's probably so good now because like the AI stuff is just
it's insane.
It's crazy. So like the bigger issue is going to be now AI showing a photo of you bearing a body that you never did. That's my bigger concern is now that artificial intelligence has the capability to replicate.
It has good and bad.
Yeah.
Good and bad. Well, hopefully this works out for the good. And that is the fucking fucked up story of Daniel Conahan, the Hog Trail killer.
I want to know how people aren't just that no one I don't know, like how do they go unidentified for so long?
I don't know.
Like that somebody goes missing and no one ever thinks anything of it. That's wild to me.
He intentionally picked like transients and people who may not have ID at all or just have a loner lifestyle. He wanted to go after people that in his head they weren't going to be missed and he couldn't get caught for it. Like he intentionally picked people like that.
I know, but then he also picked people that had great relationships with their mom and talked to them about everything. You know,
that part was weird, and it's because Daniel used to buy weed from Robert's neighbor. So Richard and Robert lived together in the trailer in that trailer park, and Daniel used to buy weed from his neighbor, and Richard knew everybody in that trailer park, which is how they met. So that's how they became friends, because he used to go over there to buy weed and then met him that way. So that one he got a little bit too close to. But when the cops were undercover, he used to go around he would just go up to literally people on the street. They stood cops dressed like transients on the street corner.
Transient is your favorite word.
Yeah.
On this one too.
Yeah. If y'all want to play a drinking game, do that.
Yeah, do transient.
But they would dress him up like that and then put him on the corner, and he would just pull up to people and be like.
So basically like every other serial killer who gets prostitutes. Well, he's not creative. Just gonna bump him on the points for creativity. So what's the total suspected body count?
Oh God, it's like I have to go back and count.
I think there were 5 that you had talked about.
5 or 6.
5 and then the 8. So
I think it's 5 or 6 total, and then the 8 on top of that. And then, but here's my thing: how are you going to live in Chicago for 13 years and just all of a sudden move to Florida and then start doing this? Like they like a couple of the things that I read, they were thinking about that. Like, how did you live? And granted, he had a boyfriend for a little bit of it, but I don't feel like you just go from nothing to this.
I'm super curious if he got in a car accident and hit his head.
I don't know.
You know, like those things that no one thinks anything of. Like, but what we've seen many times is like where people
like head trauma
that then changes them.
That's a good point. I don't know if they dug a little deeper. If you could look, I don't know.
I mean, that one guy who was just recently caught as being a serial killer, and I can't even remember his name, but the Garden Gate or whatever is the one that was literally Golden State Killer. Like it's the same thing. Like, you aren't a murderer until you become a murderer. Yeah. So he could have been fighting the urge that whole time. Maybe. He was trying to forcefully suck Ween, man.
I know. My thought is maybe he moved down to help take care of his elderly parents, and they started back on there. We're disgusted with you. He said that they treated him like shit or whatever. Maybe they started back up again, and
But he was an adult and he was taking care of him, so he could have just left.
Yeah, that part I don't get. I'm not excusing it. I just meant maybe that triggered him and he just...
Oh, I'm over here literally thinking you support him.
I think that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
That's what I got from that.
Well, hopefully everyone else got that too. No, I don't get it.
I don't fucking get it either. Ridiculous.
I don't understand.
I don't either. But
that's very wild. He very Britney Spears the penises. Yeah. Like she cut her hair so that nobody would know about her drug use. I'm just like, whoa.
Remember when she smashed the car with the...
Yeah, after she cut her hair.
Umbrella, yeah.
She never got off them drugs.
Man. And now she's off her rocker.
So crazy.
Oh my God.
I would follow her. She is one of those people that I follow and then I have to unfollow her and then I'll bring her back and then I'll unfollow her again. Because I can't have that kind of negativity in my life. Like
it's sad.
At the end of the day, it's a car accident that I can't stop looking at, and I'm tired of seeing a car accident. You know what I'm saying?
It's really sad. And I am a very, very big B. Spears advocate. At this point. Now I'm just like, there's got to be a handler. There's a team or a handler. She's got to have a PR person. Something. But then she posted a video and there's a mirror in it when she apparently put a stripper pole in that weird room she's always videoing in. And you can see it and it's just a ring light with where her phone goes.
That's what I'm
like,
saying.
no one's doing this.
That's what I'm saying. I've always thought it was just her doing that. And then she gets married and then she has a kid and then they lose the kid. They were never pregnant. You were never really married.
It's a thing.
Like,
it's a whole to-do.
You're crazy.
Yeah.
You're fucking crazy. You're batshit. Should have never fucked her backup dancer, Kevin Federline, because he is who ruined her life.
Oh my God.
He is the one that made her start smoking cigs, doing meth, and hanging out in fucking gas station porta pots. Barefoot.
Okay,
Man.
Fed. Fuck that guy too.
Gross.
Anyway.
I don't know why we started talking about Britney Spears.
I don't know either.
I don't know. Fuck that guy too, man.
Fuck Daniel Conahan. Bastard.
No, he doesn't even. Daniel Conahan sounds like he's literally going to be my CPA.
Did you look at him? Did you look at his face? His ugly,
no, I just
spent
45 minutes doing that research, but never looked.
You didn't look at any photos, huh?
No. Nope. Well, I have a feeling that we hit our mark on time.
We sure. Oh, this isn't going to be a 2-hour episode?
Yeah, no, we have learned people don't care for that.
They travel.
And you know what else? We don't care for it either.
Yeah, that's very true.
My
ass is asleep.
My fucking back is already aching. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I'm over here like, I know you can hear the seat, but there's nothing I can do about it, guys. I have a shitty bag. Which means I couldn't have murdered those men.
That's rad. Golly is right.
Anyway, so listen, rate, subscribe, all that jazz. We don't know when our next episode's really going to come out because we're going to go to CrimeCon and who knows?
God. Maybe our next episode we just have Nancy Grace on. No big deal.
Oh my God, I'd shit myself. I would literally just shit myself and I'd be like, excuse me, because the room would smell from me shitting myself.
You would shit your pants?
I would shit my pants. Nancy Grace for sure. For sure.
Well, now I'm really going to talk to her.
And I want to hear Chris Hansen because I feel like I just want to hear them all. I just want to feel like I'm inside of a show.
Oh, we are going to be inside of a show.
Yes.
All the things. We'll report back.
Maybe. No, I'm kidding. We're going to tell you guys all about it.
Yes.
All about it. Yeah.